Before she became the queen of daytime television, Judith Susan Scheinlin, better known as Judge Judy, was just a young law graduate in New York trying to find her place in a world that didn't seem built for her. In 1965, she proudly passed the New York State Bar exam. It should have been a moment of celebration, a first step toward the legal career she had always imagined, but instead, her very first job left her cold. Judy found herself working as a corporate lawyer. Big clients, big firms, good money, but no spark. She hated it. This wasn't justice. This wasn't the kind of work she thought the law was supposed to be about. Frustrated and disillusioned, she did something most ambitious lawyers would never dare. She walked away. Judy stepped back from her legal career, married, and devoted her time to raising her children. For a while, it looked like she might disappear into a quiet family life. But Judy Scheinlin wasn't built for quiet. By the early 1970s, she was restless again. She wanted purpose. She wanted to fight for something that mattered. So in 1972, she made a decision that would change everything. She applied for a job as a prosecutor in New York City's family court. The work wasn't glamorous. It wasn't high-paying. It wasn't prestigious. But to Judy, it was real. Day after day, she stood in courtrooms representing the city in cases that often involved broken families, abused children, and lives hanging in the balance. Here, her blunt, no-nonsense style wasn't just welcome, it was necessary. At the time, no one could have guessed it, not even Judy herself. But this was the moment her destiny truly began to take shape. The young mother who once thought she had walked away from law was about to become one of the most recognizable faces in the entire world. By the early 1980s, Judy Scheinlin wasn't just another attorney grinding away in New York's family courts. She had already developed a reputation for being tough, direct, and unapologetically honest. When other prosecutors softened their words or tried to carefully navigate the delicate emotions of parents and guardians, Judy did the opposite. She cut through excuses like a knife. If a parent wasn't doing their job, she told them straight to their face, no sugarcoating, no sympathy for irresponsibility. It was a kind of approach that made some people uncomfortable, but it also made her stand out. Word of her fearless style spread quickly. Inside the legal community, whispers started to circulate. Who is this sharp-tongued attorney who doesn't seem to care about making enemies? And outside the courtroom, reporters began picking up on her unusual way of handling cases. Judy wasn't just winning cases. She was making an impression. That impression soon caught the attention of city leaders. In 1982, Judy got the call that would change everything. She was appointed by then Mayor Ed Koch to serve as a judge in New York's criminal court. For most lawyers, that would have been the peak of their careers, a dream, role reserved for only the most respected professionals. But for Judy, it wasn't a finish line. It was just the beginning. The moment she put on the judge's robe, Judy doubled down on her no-nonsense philosophy. Unlike many judges who were cautious, overly patient, or weighed down by the politics of the courtroom, Judy didn't waste a second. Her style was fast, efficient, and brutally direct. Defendants expecting a sympathetic ear were often stunned when Judy cut straight to the truth. In a matter of minutes, she wasn't there to coddle anyone. She was there to keep order and get justice. Colleagues noticed it immediately. Some admired her fearlessness. Others thought she went too far, worrying that her blunt tone might come across as disrespectful or even damaging in sensitive family cases. But Judy never apologized for who she was. She once said that her job wasn't to make people feel good. Her job was to make sure children were safe and the law was upheld. To her, that mission was bigger than feelings. By 1986, her relentless energy earned her a promotion to supervising judge in Manhattan's family court, one of the busiest and most emotionally intense court systems in the country. In this role, she wasn't just managing her own cases. She was overseeing dozens of other judges, guiding how family court was run, and helping to shape the city's legal approach to child welfare and custody issues. It was a massive responsibility, but if anyone was ready for it, it was Judy. And that's when the media really started paying attention. The New York Times ran a profile on her, calling her one of the toughest judges in New York. Suddenly, Judy wasn't just a local legal figure. She was becoming a public persona. People who had never stepped foot inside a courtroom were now reading about this sharp-tongued judge who didn't hold back. Of course, with fame came controversy. Some critics claimed her courtroom demeanor was too harsh, that she embarrassed people unnecessarily or pushed too hard in already sensitive situations. Others argued that her approach was exactly what the system needed, a breath of fresh air in a world full of red tape and empty promises. But here's what made Judy different. She didn't try to tone herself down to silence critics. Instead, she leaned into it. She believed that being brutally honest was the only way to shake people out of denial. And whether people loved her or hated her, no one could ignore her. What most people didn't realize back then was that Judy was building something far bigger than a legal career. Every sharp word, every dramatic moment, every headline, it was all shaping a larger-than-life persona that audiences would one day find impossible to look away from. Her rise in the courts wasn't just about justice. It was a foundation for an entirely new kind of stardom, one that would eventually transform her into a household name on television, screens around the world. By the early 1990s, Judy Shineland had built a reputation in New York that was almost mythic. Lawyers whispered about her. Defendants dreaded her. Reporters loved her. Why? Because she wasn't just a judge. She was a quote machine. Every line she delivered carried a sting. She spoke in short, cutting sentences that sounded less like legal rulings and more like punchlines. It was courtroom justice with a dash of stand-up comedy. And then came 1993. A journalist from the Los Angeles Times sat in her courtroom and walked away stunned. The headline that followed would change Judy's life. Don't mess with Judge. Judy, the toughest family court judge in the country. That single article went national, spreading from California to New York. And suddenly Judy Shineland wasn't just a city judge. She was a national curiosity. Television producers, always on the hunt for characters bigger than life, started circling. But it wasn't until 60 Minutes aired a profile on her that everything truly shifted. Millions of Americans tuned in that Sunday evening, expecting another serious news feature. What they got was Judy. Sharp, funny, absolutely fearless. She didn't flinch, didn't soften her words for TV. She grilled. A negligent parent right there on camera, and audiences were hooked. The response was immediate. CBS was flooded with letters and calls from viewers who wanted more of that tough lady judge. Think about that for a second. A family court judge from New York was suddenly a TV star without even trying. Most people in entertainment chase fame. Judy? Fame came chasing her. But here's the irony. At that point, Judy was actually thinking about retirement. She'd been in the trenches of family court for over 2 decades. She'd seen heartbreaking cases of abuse, neglect, broken families, work that burns most judges out in just a few years. By the mid-90s, she was ready to step away. And that's when Hollywood made its move. Producer Larry Little, who had already worked in television, saw her 60 Minutes profile and thought, this isn't just a judge, this is television gold. He flew to New York and pitched her on the idea of starring in her own courtroom show. Judy laughed. At first, she thought it was ridiculous. Why would anyone want to watch her yell at people on TV? But Little was persistent. He knew she had something nobody else in daytime television had: authenticity. Other courtroom shows at the time felt stiff, staged, almost like parodies of the legal system. But Judy was real. The way she barked at defendants, the way she dissected lies with surgical precision, the way she shut down nonsense with just one glare. It wasn't an act, it was who she was. Finally, Judy agreed. She retired from the bench in 1996 and signed on to headline a new show called Judge Judy. The setup was simple: real small claims cases, real people, and Judy delivering real rulings. No scripts, no rehearsals, just Judy in her robe doing what she did best. Still, not everyone believed it would work. Network executives were skeptical. A 50-something New York judge with no acting experience? That's not television material. But then the first episodes aired, and everything changed. On September 16, 1996, Judge Judy premiered. Within weeks, it was clear this wasn't just another daytime show. Audiences tuned in by the millions. They couldn't get enough of her. Razor-sharp comebacks, her unforgettable one-liners, and her total refusal to tolerate stupidity. She listened to a defendant's long, rambling excuse and cut them off with, "Don't pee on my leg," and "Tell me it's raining." That line became an instant classic, and even the title of her later best-selling book. The ratings told the story. By its second season, Judge Judy was pulling in more viewers than Oprah in some markets. Think about that. Oprah, the queen of daytime television, was being challenged by a no-nonsense judge who just told it like it was. Judy had gone from a New York family court to the throne of daytime TV in less than 3 years. And here's the wild part. Judy didn't change a thing. She didn't soften her tone for television. She didn't start playing nice because cameras were rolling. She was the same Judy Shineland, who'd been terrifying defendants in Manhattan for decades. Except now, instead of cramped courtroom, she had a national audience watching every move. By the late 1990s, Judy Shineland wasn't just a TV judge. She was a cultural phenomenon. Her face was everywhere. Her lines were quoted on talk shows, and she was quickly becoming the most recognizable judge in the world. In just a few short years, Judy had taken the leap from courtroom to camera, and television would never be the same again. By the late 1990s, Judy Shineland wasn't just a TV judge. She was a TV judge. Her show, Judge Judy, was a modest success. It was a juggernaut. Daytime television had always been crowded. Soap operas, talk shows, reruns. But suddenly, smack in the middle of it all, here was this tiny woman from Brooklyn absolutely dominating the screen. Viewers couldn't look away. Why? Because Judy delivered something daytime TV had never seen before: raw honesty. She didn't sugarcoat. She didn't coddle. If you came into her courtroom with a ridiculous excuse, she'd slice through it in seconds. One minute she was hilarious. The next minute she was terrifying. That unpredictability made every episode must-watch, and the numbers proved it. Within 3 years of its 1996 debut, Judge Judy was averaging more than 10 million viewers a day. Think about that. Not a week, not a month, a day. By comparison, many primetime shows at the time couldn't dream of those ratings. Judy wasn't just competing with Oprah anymore. She was beating her in some markets. For the first time in decades, Oprah had real competition. And it wasn't another glamorous talk show host. It was a no-nonsense judge who wore her robe like armor. But here's the kicker. Judy wasn't chasing fame. She didn't do celebrity gossip. She didn't host fancy Hollywood parties. She rarely even did interviews. Her focus was singular, the show, and that authenticity made audiences trust her even more. In an era of polished, scripted daytime TV, Judy's courtroom felt like real life. By the early 2000s, Judy Shineland was a household name. Kids quoted her one-liners on playgrounds. College students watched her between classes. Stay-at-home parents treated her show like an afternoon ritual. And Hollywood finally realized what Larry Little had seen years before. Judy wasn't just another TV personality. She was a brand. That brand was worth a fortune. By 2005, Judy had signed a contract that made her the highest-paid woman in television, earning $47 million a year. To put that in perspective, that was more than Jay Leno more than David Letterman, more than most Hollywood movie stars at the time. And here's the twist. Judy didn't negotiate like a nervous celebrity. She negotiated like a judge. Straight, to the point, no nonsense. She famously walked into CBS meetings with her, terms written on a piece of paper, and said, "This is what I'm worth. If you don't like it, I can go home." CBS never argued. Why? Because they knew the truth. Judge Judy was a money-printing machine. The show was syndicated in nearly every American household. International markets were buying it. Advertisers lined up because her audience was massive and loyal. In TV, consistency is gold, and Judy delivered year after year. By 2011, Judy's salary had skyrocketed again. Reports put at $123,000 per episode. And since she filmed about 260 episodes a year, that added up to nearly $45 million annually. Imagine that Judy could shoot an entire year of episodes in just 52 days of work and walk away with one of the biggest paychecks in television history. Her dominance didn't stop with ratings and money. Judy's influence started shaping pop culture. Late-night comedians quoted her. Cartoons parroted her. Talk show hosts invited her as a guest of honor. Even Supreme Court justices were asked about her in interviews. She was bigger than a celebrity. She was an institution. And yet, through it all, Judy stayed Judy. No flashy designer wardrobe. No desperate PR stunts. She kept her robe, her bench, and her razor-sharp wit. She still cut through excuses with lines like, "Beauty fades, dumb is forever," and "I'm the boss, applesauce." Viewers knew what they were getting: honesty wrapped in a punchline. By the 2010s, Judge Judy was a #1 show in daytime television, averaging nearly 10 million viewers a day, more than Dr. Phil, more than Ellen, more than any talk show in America in total. The show would run for 25 seasons, producing more than 6,000 episodes and winning 3 Daytime Emmy Awards. But the trophies, the ratings, even the money, none of it fully explains her domination. Judy succeeded because she represented something audiences were craving. A voice that cut through the noise. In a world of excuses, Judy demanded accountability. In a culture full of spin, she told the truth. And that made her not just a star, but a cultural force. By the time the 25th season wrapped in 2021, Judy Shineland had cemented her place in television history. She wasn't just the queen of daytime TV. She was the highest paid, most watched, and most influential judge the world had ever seen. And she did it all without ever once changing who she was. Judy didn't bend to television. Television bent to Judy. When most people think of TV stars, they picture glitzy red carpets, blockbuster movies, and brand deals. But Judge Judy rewrote the rules. She didn't need Hollywood. She didn't need endorsements. She didn't even need a script. Her fortune came from one thing: her authenticity. Let's talk numbers. For nearly 2 decades, Judy Shineland was the highest paid television star in the world. At her peak, she earned $47 million per year. That's not combined income from different projects. That's her paycheck from one show. Judge Judy. To put that in perspective, that's more than what Oprah made hosting her daytime show in her later years. That's more than what most late-night hosts, Fallon, Kimmel, even Letterman, were pulling in at their peaks. And it's more than double what the average NFL quarterback earns per season. Now, here's where it gets shocking. Judy worked just 52 days a year in less than 2 months. She'd film enough episodes to cover the entire season. That means, by some estimates, she was earning $900,000 per working day. Think about that. Nearly $1 million every single day she walked into studio. But Judy wasn't just smart in the courtroom. She was a shark in the boardroom. In 2015, she pulled off one of the most brilliant TV deals in history. She sold the rights to her massive Judge Judy episode library, over 5,000 episodes, to CBS. Price tag? a reported $95 million. And remember, those were reruns, episodes that had already aired. Content CBS had already monetized. Yet Judy flipped the script and said, "If you want to keep running my show forever, you pay me." And they did. That single deal catapulted her into the financial stratosphere. By 2017, Forbes declared her the highest-paid TV host on the planet, earning a jaw-dropping $147 million in 1 year. Let that sink in. 1 year of income that rivaled Hollywood's biggest franchises. And Judy didn't let her money sit idle. She and her husband, Jerry Scheinlin, a judge himself, built a real estate empire fit for royalty. A $13 million Greenwich, Connecticut mansion with sprawling lawns and classic New England luxury. A $10.7 million estate in Naples, Florida, complete with ocean views and resort-style architecture. A sleek $9 million Beverly Hills condo to keep 1 foot in Hollywood. A historic $9 million mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, known for its Gilded Age. Style combined, her properties are worth over $100 million. But here's the thing about Judy. She doesn't stop. Even after wrapping Judge Judy in 2021, she came back with Judy Justice on Amazon's IMDb TV, later Freebie. The move was symbolic. Judy was no longer tied to network TV. She had entered the streaming era, and in classic Judy fashion, she brought family into fold. Her granddaughter Sarah Rose joined the show as a law clerk, showing that Judy wasn't just building a show, she was building a dynasty. Today, financial experts estimate her net worth somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion. If she hasn't hit billionaire status already, she's on the edge, closer than almost any other TV personality alive. But Judy's fortune isn't just about dollar signs. It's about impact. She changed the DNA of television. Before her, courtroom shows were considered throwaway filler, a niche genre. After her, they became a staple of daytime TV. Dozens of imitators tried. Judge Joe Brown Judge, Mathis, The People's Court, and even Hot Bench, a show Judy herself created. None came close to matching her dominance. Beyond TV, she became a pop culture icon. Her one-liners, her eye rolls, her trademark, "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining" style of delivery turned her into a meme machine decades. Before memes existed, she represented accountability in an age when people felt institutions were failing. She was tough, unflinching, and for millions, a reminder that truth still mattered. And let's not overlook the trailblazing factor. Judy became one of the richest self-made women in America, in an industry where women, especially older women, were often pushed aside. She didn't just stay relevant in her 50s, 60s, and 70s. She dominated. She proved that authority, intelligence, and confidence could outshine youth and glamour. So what's the verdict? Judy Scheinlin didn't just earn a fortune. She built an empire. She left behind a blueprint for power. Know your worth, negotiate hard, never compromise, and turn your authenticity into your brand. Today, she stands as more than just a TV judge. She's a mogul, a pioneer, a cultural force, and, yes, possibly America's first courtroom billionaire. The final judgment? Judy Scheinlin proved that honesty pays. And in her case, it paid nearly $1 billion. Court adjourned. When you strip away the contracts, the ratings, and the money, you're left with a much bigger question. Why did Judge Judy matter so much? To understand her cultural impact, you have to understand America in the 1990s. Court TV was niche. Real-life trials like O.J. Simpson were grabbing headlines, but courtroom television was background noise. It wasn't entertainment. Then along came Judy Scheinlin, sharp-tongued, razor-witted, and unapologetically herself. She wasn't acting. She wasn't performing. She was simply doing what she had done in New York family court for decades, calling out nonsense, demanding accountability, and delivering judgments with no sugarcoating. Almost overnight, she became a symbol. Viewers didn't just see a TV judge. They saw a voice for common sense. In a world where politicians waffled, celebrities smiled through scandals, and news anchors played it safe, Judy was blunt, refreshingly blunt. She told people what millions were thinking but never said aloud. Her show transcended generations. Retirees tuned in every afternoon. College students watched reruns late at night. Parents played clips at the dinner table. She became the rare figure that grandparents and teenagers could both quote. That cultural overlap is almost unheard of in television. And then came the internet. In the early 2000s, when YouTube was born, Judge Judy clips became some of the first courtroom memes. Her eye rolls, her famous baloney outbursts, her long pauses of disbelief. They were perfect for reaction GIFs before GIFs were even a thing. By the 2010s, Judy wasn't just a TV figure. She was a digital language. Memes of her looking over, her glasses, or slamming down her gavel became shorthand for, "I don't buy your nonsense." To this day, she is one of the most GIF-ed celebrities on social media. But her cultural weight wasn't just about humor. It was about representation. In an era when women in television were often expected to be glamorous, soft-spoken, or secondary, Judy flipped the script. Here was a woman in her 50s, not a model, not a singer, not an actress, but a judge. Stern, sharp, fierce, and she commanded the screen with more authority than anyone else on daytime television. She wasn't likable in the conventional sense, and that was exactly the point. She showed that women didn't need to play nice to be powerful. They could lead with intellect, command respect, and dominate industries long ruled by men. Young women saw her and thought, I can be tough. I can be heard. I can demand my worth. Judy didn't just inspire future TV judges. She inspired lawyers, business leaders, and executives who grew up watching her eviscerate excuses day after day. Even her marriage, lasting nearly half a century, became a cultural talking point. In a world obsessed with celebrity breakups, Judy and Jerry Scheinlin, two judges with fiery personalities, built a partnership rooted in mutual respect. She was proof that you could be successful, commanding, even intimidating, and still have a strong, loving marriage. Over time, Judy became more than a person. She became a brand. You could buy Judge Judy books, catch her quotes on merchandise, see her reference in comedy shows, and hear rappers name drop her in songs. Saturday Night Live parodied her. Late night hosts imitated her. Even the Supreme Court got compared to her once in a CNN op-ed. That's how deeply she entered the cultural bloodstream. And here's the final twist. Judy Scheinlin didn't chase any of it. She wasn't designing catchphrases for virality. She wasn't calculating how to go viral on TikTok. She was simply herself. The same Brooklyn-born woman who told her law clerks not to waste her time back in the 1970s. Authenticity was her brand. And in the end, that authenticity made her one of the most unlikely and enduring cultural icons of the modern era. Think about this. In an age when fame fades in 15 minutes, Judge Judy has stayed relevant for nearly 30 years. Not because she reinvented herself, but because she never did. She was always Judy. Direct, fearless, uncompromising. And that more than her ratings, more than her paychecks, more than even her fortune, is why she'll be remembered. Judy Scheinlin isn't just television history. She is American culture, crystallized into one figure. A gavel in one hand, common sense in the other, and a legacy that will outlast us all. The cultural judgment? Case closed. When the gavel finally fell on Judge Judy's 25-year run, the headlines were staggering. A billion-dollar fortune, the highest-paid television personality in the world, the longest-running courtroom show in history. The records alone could have secured her legacy. But that's not the full story, because Judge Judy was never just about television. She was about a voice that cut through excuses, through lies, through the endless fog of performance, and demanded accountability. In her courtroom, truth wasn't a matter of debate. It was a matter of discipline. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. That wasn't just a quote. It was a philosophy. And millions of viewers carried it with them long after the credits rolled. In the end, Judy Shinelin's career isn't defined by her ratings or even her paycheck. It's defined by something rarer, permanence. A permanence in culture, in memory, in the way we think. About fairness. She took an ordinary TV format, small claims court, and turned it into one of the most powerful platforms for common sense in modern history. That's not just television. That's transformation. She didn't need Hollywood. She didn't need scripts. She didn't even need actors. Just a bench, a gavel, and herself. And yet, she became more famous and more trusted than most politicians, news anchors, or movie stars. Ask yourself, who do you believe more, a senator giving a speech or Judge Judy raising an eyebrow? That's the quiet miracle of her career. For decades, the American public, cynical, divided, skeptical of authority, believed her, not because she told them what they wanted to hear, but because she told them what they didn't want to hear. The hard truths, the blunt realities, and she told them without fear of consequence. And so, when the final curtain closes on Judy Shinelin's story, what remains is not just a courtroom show, not just a television empire, but an idea, the idea that justice, at its core, should be sharp, swift, and fearless, that accountability should never be sugar-coated, and that authenticity, in a world drowning in spin, is still the rarest and most powerful currency of all. One day, new judges will come, new shows will launch, new stars will rise, but there will never be another Judge Judy, because Judy Shineline didn't just dominate television, she changed it. She showed that honesty could be entertainment, that truth could be addictive, and that one woman's glare could stop an entire nation in its tracks. And so the story ends where it began, with a woman in a courtroom telling the world she doesn't have time for nonsense. The gavel falls, the audience applauds, and Judge Judy, without missing a beat, looks into the camera one last time and says, "That's it, we're done here. Case closed." As the years roll on, television will keep changing. New platforms will rise, audiences will shift, and the next generation might never even remember the golden age of daytime TV. But Judge Judy's story doesn't belong to a single era. Her legacy is something larger, a reminder that authenticity is timeless. In a world that often rewards fakery, Judy Shineline became a global icon by doing the opposite. She told the truth, even when it hurt. She was fair, even when it was unpopular. And she never let the spotlight bend her principles. That's why her courtroom wasn't just a set. It was a mirror that showed America what it really looked like, flaws and all. To millions of viewers, Judge Judy was more than entertainment. She was a teacher, a cultural compass. She taught that excuses don't erase responsibility, that respect is earned, not demanded, and that clarity, sharp, simple, undeniable clarity, can cut through even the most complicated of conflicts. Think about it. How many TV shows from the 1990s are still quoted today? How many personalities from that era are still instantly recognizable across generations? Yet even now, if someone raises their eyebrow in disapproval, people joke, "Okay, Judge Judy, that's permanence. That's cultural impact." Her empire, the books, the shows, the billion-dollar deal, those are the headlines. But the true headline is this: Judy Shineline proved that one voice, if it's sharp enough, can echo for decades. For every young lawyer entering the courtroom today, for every woman demanding respect in a male-dominated field, for every ordinary person flipping through channels looking for something real, Judge Judy stands as a reminder. Strength doesn't have to shout. It just has to be unshakable. And maybe that's the real verdict of her career. Not guilty of being just another TV personality. Guilty of being unforgettable. Because when history looks back, it won't just remember Judge Judy as the woman with the gavel on TV. It will remember her as a woman who, against all odds, turned honesty into a cultural phenomenon. And for that, the court of history will always remain in recess, waiting for the next voice brave, enough to tell it like it is. Until then, Judge Judy's legacy lives on, sharp, fearless, and everlasting. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more videos.